had to turn on all my lights after reading this story. If you're new here, hi. I usually talk about some pretty scary stuff, and today I'm going to be talking about a story that I've been kind of putting off making the video for. And a huge driving factor on this, and now I'm going to be fully transparent about this. I'm not a fan of making videos about demonic things or demons specifically because every single time I've made a video, whether it's my personal experience or if it's someone else's, I hear things in either the background or in the audio and I have to reshoot it, something every single time. I've also had instances where my dogs are growling at things that are not there, so you get the gist on why I'm a little hesitant to make videos about demonic things. But without further ado, let's get into it. This story comes from Lexi, who lives in West Virginia and lives in a very haunted house. She says that the hauntings started around the time when she was 6. Just for context purposes, she was 4 when her parents got a divorce, and her mom started seeing this man when she was around 6 years old, and shortly after, all of these hauntings started. And at first it was small occurrences, like her mom telling her to pick up her toys, so she would do so, and when they would come back, the toys would be scattered all across the floor. And she mentions during these instances, her mom and her both were afraid because they both knew that it was almost impossible for these things to be happening. But they continued to brush off these little noises, these little occurrences, because they could be coincidental. And Lexi says that this continued for 2 years before her mom's boyfriend moved in, and his parents actually lived down the street from Lexi's mom, where all of this stuff is occurring. And one night, Lexi, her mom, and her mom's boyfriend go down to his parents' house to have dinner. A couple of his cousins were over with their kids, and there was this little girl there who was like 2 years older than Lexi at the time, so little girl was 10, Lexi was 8. And when they were playing, this little girl just out of the blue says, "Did you know that there's an old woman who lives in the bedroom upstairs?" And at the time, she thought it was creepy, but she just kind of brushed it off, thinking that the little girl was just trying to scare her. A couple days later, her mom is walking up the stairs to use the bathroom, and Lexi just tells her mom, "Hey," little girl's name, said that there is a woman who lives in the bedroom upstairs. Her mom kind of turns around and is like, "Which bedroom?" So Lexi walks upstairs, gets to the door, and goes to look in and points and says, "This one." And as she does, she did in fact see a woman standing there, very pale, black hair, and a long nightgown. Lexi specifically said that it looked like it was from the early 1900s. And obviously upon seeing this, Lexi ran downstairs, and her mom was really confused until they got back to their house and she explained the entire situation. Lexi's mom's boyfriend was overhearing this conversation and asked her to describe this woman. And when she did, he then said that they had been seeing that same woman there for years. And this is where things take a turn for the worse. Lexi says from that point on, the encounters in her house that were once very small became very amplified and very scary. And she said specifically that many nights she would feel like there was something in the room with her, even more specifically watching her sleep. But again, she brushed it off because she thought she was just scared. Until she was having a friend sleep over, and her friend woke her up in the middle of the night to specifically tell Lexi that she had seen a woman looking at her from over the footboard, just like this. And Lexi thought it was a joke until her friend described the exact same woman she had been seeing. And I guess things get even worse, because after this instance, Lexi's mom begins telling her that she has been seeing her walk around the house when she's not home. She can hear Lexi talking when she's not home. And Lexi had been seeing this woman in mirrors, like when she's brushing her teeth, for example. And on top of this, and what I think is the scariest, Lexi would hear clapping when nobody else was home, and people talking when nobody else is home. And most recently, she tells me that they have 2 dogs, and she brought one of the dogs into her room when she starts to hear the other dog whining and a woman talking to her dog. So immediately she opens the door, tells the other dog, like, "Mom's home." The dog does not get up and greet her mom like he would normally do. And when Lexi walks out to go see her mom, she finds out that her mom is not home, her car is not in the driveway, and she is still at work. So again, she goes back in her room, closes the door, clear as day, hears a woman say, "Come here, where are you?" And she can hear the dog go from whining to barking. So immediately she thinks that someone has broken into her house. She locks her door, gets her softball bat out, and calls her mom to come home immediately. The dog she had with her began barking, and thankfully her mom only works like 10 minutes away, so she rushed home. But during the time of her mom coming home, Lexi began to hear heavy footsteps coming towards her door. And Lexi specifically states that the energy felt so heavy, and when whatever was outside of the door got to the door, it got eerily silent, and the keychain she has on her door began swaying back and forth. Her mom then got home, found no one in the house, and Lexi believes that the spirit attached itself to her and followed them home and has not left. Because that last instance happened like 3 weeks ago. And before I get into anything else, I just have to pause and say I've had to cut a couple of things out because I was hearing banging noises on my wall. And if you don't know, now you do. I either film early in the morning or late at night. I do this because then I don't have to worry about outside noises or my neighbors being awake, etc. So I don't know, and it's furthering the I don't like making videos about demons kind of thing. What really freaked me out was the clapping and obviously the lady looking over the footboard. I don't like that. And I swear I can almost see her face when I'm talking about this. And when I read it the first time, I could see her. But anyways, that's gonna do it for me. Stay tuned for more ghost stories.
This road by my house has to be haunted because tell me why every time I drive past it, something bad happens. Or like every time I drive on the road. Last night, me and my friend were going to drive on the road because we were like bored. And I feel something literally grab my face. And at first I didn't say anything because I was like, it was probably my friend. And I look at her and I'm like, did you just grab my face? And she was like, no, I promise I didn't. And I start bawling my eyes out because this has happened to me before. And it was not pretty the first time either. Because I just felt someone like grab my face and like, it's not her. So who the fuck was? And then one time when my friend drove past, she saw a little girl standing on the side of the road. And like, she was like calling me crying and she was scared as fuck. Then throwback 2 years ago to 4th of July, we were like lighting fireworks on that road because no one lives back there. And so we were like, okay, it's fine. And then we like were lighting the fireworks and I turn around and I see this guy and like, keep in mind, it was mid-July, or not mid-July, beginning of July, because this was like 4th of July. I'm like shaking even like talking about it. And he's in all winter clothes. He has like a winter hat on and he's like limping towards us. He has like no face. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but like he didn't have a face. And I know some people actually, a lot of people don't believe in this kind of stuff, but I'm not lying. And he like didn't say anything. We all just like got in the car and we drove away so fucking quickly. Maybe it was a person, I don't know, but we were gone because I was not trying to deal with that. That is also the road, if you've seen my video like a couple weeks ago, that I almost got kidnapped on. It was the same road that I almost got kidnapped on. Like, why does everything bad happen on that road? And last night before someone grabbed my face, I had like a very, very weird, like eerie feeling that we need to like get out of there. And then that happened. Like, and it's not like I'm scared. Like, it was like a bad feeling. I know a lot of people aren't going to believe me and that's fine. But like, I'm just telling you from my experience, that's what happened. And like, I believe in that stuff. I feel like you don't really believe until it happens to you because like, that's how I was. Like, people would scare me with it, but I wouldn't believe it. And then it happened to me. And then I was like, oh, okay. Call me crazy, but I feel like everything's real. Like even mermaids, even aliens. Like I feel like everything has walked this earth at least once or like still is. Like, I love that saying, seeing is believing, because I seriously feel like people never believe stuff until they see it. Stuff has also happened in my house, and some of my friends don't even want to sleep over because of it. And I'm like, girl, like, it's not that deep. Like, I guess it is, like, if, like, it happened to you and you're scared. If you guys want more stories, I can give them to you, but I feel like, honestly, if I tell other stories, people are not going to believe them. But seriously, when people don't believe me, it doesn't bother me because I know what happened and I know what I've been through and I know what I see. Like, I'm not crazy. Okay, when I say it like that, maybe I am crazy. But anyways, you guys get what I mean. I'm going to the gym, so I love you guys. Bye.
This is a PSA to always be aware of your surroundings. I'm gonna try and make this as short as I can, but it's a long story and there's a lot of details. So yesterday I got home from a trip and I took a Lyft from the airport to my house by myself. While I was in the Lyft, I ordered Chipotle to be delivered to my house through their app. The Lyft driver had no reason to think that I was home alone or that no one else was in the house, but he did know that he was dropping me off by myself. Like 10 minutes after I was home, I got a notification on my phone that my driver was here to drop off my food. But this driver knocked on the door and waited, and then knocked again and waited, and knocked 4 times in like a 10-minute time span. And in my head, I'm like, okay, dude, just leave. I'll get the food in a sec. After the 4th time that he knocked and being there for like 10 minutes, he sat down on my porch and stayed there for like 45 minutes. He had no reason to think that I was home alone, but I was, so I wasn't gonna open the door with him right there, knowing that I'm by myself. My other deliveries usually just get left on the porch and then they leave. Anyway, so I called my neighbor who was down the street to come up and just kind of see if he'll leave if someone else pulled in the driveway. And he did, but he went and sat in his car. So my neighbor came in my house and the guy stayed in his car for like another 30 minutes and then slowly drove away. After about 10 more minutes, my neighbor was like, okay, hopefully he left. I'm gonna go home, I have an appointment. So my neighbor left and then texted me like 5 minutes later. He didn't leave, he's actually sitting like 3 houses down the street. And now he's talking to a blue van. I checked the porch and I don't have my food. So he waited there for like 45 minutes on my porch, plus another 30 to 45 minutes in his car, and I still didn't get my food. Weird. So now I know that the guy's still down the street, my neighbor's gone at an appointment, and I don't know what to do. So I waited like 20 more minutes, then I got in my car and drove down the street to see if he was still there. He was. And at this point I didn't know what to do. So I called a family friend and he met me somewhere around my neighborhood. We then drove back to my house, he followed me, came inside, and then we called the police. The cops came, I told them what happened, we were talking a little bit, and then they decided to have another detective come. Once he showed up, they asked if they could search the house and the perimeter of the house, and then we talked about the next steps, basically. They pretty much asked me if my Lyft driver possibly knew that I was home alone, which there was no way he would have known that I was home alone. Obviously, he dropped me off by myself, but he had no reason to think that there was no one inside the house. Then the cops said that they were going to make sure that all the doors and windows were locked and pretty much go back, run the plates on the cars, and see what they can find. I really hate to do this, but you'll have to come back to part 2.
Can we show them the older homestead?
Yeah, let's go. As you know.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Was that you?
Yeah, that's on either side.
It went to both.
Yeah.
So a couple nights ago, I ended up in a really scary situation when I was out with my boyfriend. Basically, there was a woman at this event. This was a concert, but it was one of those concerts where people bring their kids, which I'm not a huge fan of because there is so much drinking going on. But at this event, there was a lot of kids. And I was stone cold sober. I was not drinking. And my boyfriend was sober as well. And there was a single mom there with her daughter. And they're just walking around, enjoying the music, enjoying the food. And I cannot express to you how this woman just looked vulnerable and naive. And that, I don't mean that in an ugly way at all. She was very tiny. She was maybe 5 foot, 100 pounds. Her hair was in braids. She had like a cute round face. She did not even look old enough to have a daughter that was like 8 or 9 years old. And at some point in the night, I noticed these men approaching her. And they're all quite a bit older than her, like in their late 40s. And they're talking to her daughter. And I'm like watching out of the corner of my eye, like, what's going on over here? Because the whole night, it really looked like she was alone with her daughter. So this one guy, which all these guys are drinking, but she ends up letting this man put her daughter on his shoulders to watch the concert, okay? A little while later, I see another man, also older, also drinking, do the exact same thing. And I'm kind of like, what's happening here? We ended up getting like closer to where she was, not even on purpose really, but we ended up being right beside her during like the in-between concert, so it's not as loud where you can't hear what's going on. These 2 men have to be 30 years older than this woman, and there's one on either side of her, and she's got her little girl with her, and like one of them's in her ear talking to her, the other one's leaned down talking to her daughter. And it just, the way I felt so uncomfortable, so like, this is not right. Whatever's going on here is really creepy. It's really weird. Like my spidey senses were just like blaring. And so my boyfriend, like I'm talking to him and I'm like, do you see this? Is this weird? And he's like, yeah, I mean, maybe she knows them. Like we don't know the situation. And I was like, no, there's something weird going on. Finally, one of the drunk, creepy old men wanders away and I take his spot. Like I like step where he was next to the mom. My boyfriend's right behind me and I just stand there. The other guy I can hear is like talking his friend up and he's like, yeah, he's a great guy, like such a good guy. Finally, he shuts the fuck up and I lean down to the girl and I'm like, hey, I just have a question. Like, do you know these men? Like, are you here with them? Are they your friends? And she looks at me with wide eyes and she's like, no, I don't know them. And like, they won't leave us alone. I'm like, do you want me to punch them in the face? Like, I will literally tell them to fuck off and get lost. And she's like, I just don't want to cause a scene. I don't want to cause a problem. Like, I'm just here to enjoy the concert with my dog. So my boyfriend, of course, is like, we will tell them to like leave you the fuck alone. He's like, I'll literally make them leave right now. Right around this time, the drunk idiot wanders back and he kind of like notices that I took his spot and he's like, what the hell? He leans down to the little girl and he says, do you want to get on my shoulders again? I'm sorry, gonna have to do part 2.
Whatever you do, don't pull over at night. Last night I was driving home from a family reunion, and it was pretty late. The drive back was about 2 hours long. Most of the drive was on roads with dense bushes and tall trees on either side. You know, the real creepy ones you see in a lot of movies. Yeah, I know. I should have known. But anyways, I had been driving for about 45 minutes, and I started getting really tired. You know how it goes. The big yawns, and then the droopy eyes. I knew I wasn't going to last, but I tried to push through, I swear, for as long as I could, which honestly was only for another 15 minutes. That's when I started swerving, and I knew I had to pull over to at least take a power nap so I wouldn't be a danger to myself and to others while on the road. The road I was driving on wasn't necessarily completely empty. Like, I would see a car go by every 20 minutes or so I wasn't completely alone. I don't know if that made me feel better or worse about pulling over, but all I knew was that I needed to. So that's what I did. I pulled over to the side of the road, onto the grass, next to what appeared to be an endless sight of tall trees. Honestly, it was so relaxing, seeing the moonlight seep through the cracks. I locked my car, reclined my seat, and before I dozed off, I made a mental note of the time. 11:57. Then off to sleep I went. Sometime later, I was awoken by, I want to say, a moaning sound of some sort. I don't really know, and I don't know where it was coming from, but I opened my eyes right away, and I locked my eyes on the radio clock, which read 12:35 a.m. As soon as my eyes adjusted, the sound stopped. Something still felt off, though, but I was extremely tired, and my car was locked, and I was safe from animals. I should have trusted my gut looking back. I should have just left then and there, but I was tired. I fell back asleep. Then later on, I was awoken by the same sound, except this time, I knew exactly where it was coming from. It was louder than before, and it was coming from the back of my car right under the trunk. I shot up right away and I looked at the time, adjusting my eyes. It was 1:56 a.m. It was so late, I thought. I tried to look at the rearview window, but it was foggy. All my windows were foggy. My heart was pounding at this point, and I was so confused. The moan grew louder, and I wasn't going to stick around to find out. So I quickly took out my keys, but my adrenaline caused me to fumble. I let out a little yelp. Shit, 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 shit. Whatever was moaning heard me and stopped, and now knew I was finally awake, and so it began to climb on the roof of my car. I caught a glimpse of its back legs through my foggy window as it climbed onto my roof, indenting my car roof on its way towards my hood. I turned on my car and I floored it, and I got the hell out of there. Hearing whatever was on my roof flew off, and on its way off let out an angry sort of growl. I was probably going 100 down the road. I rolled down my windows to defog, and that's when I saw a car with its hazard lights pulled over to the side. It was probably like, I want to say 2 miles ahead of where I was initially stopped. I see the driver's side fully ajar, causing the car's interior lights to illuminate the whole inside of the car. It was completely empty. I slowed down a bit, but I wasn't going to fully stop. I wasn't stupid, not after exactly what I had just experienced. That's when I heard the most terrifying sound. A woman screamed, and I know what you're thinking. Oh gosh, that's the most terrifying sound. But this wasn't no normal scream. This wasn't something you hear in horror movies. No. this was real. This was a scream filled with pain. I could feel her pain. The scream was so loud that it caused me to scream, and I accidentally slammed on my brakes, causing my car to screech and stopping in the middle of the road right ahead of the abandoned car. Her screams only lasted for about 7 seconds, as they then started to be muffled by the sounds of bones crackling. I looked at my rearview mirror and I saw a tall figure, probably 7 feet tall, crunched over with long arms and its head tilted to the side, coming out from the woods, and it stopped in the middle of the road. Startled by what I saw, I think I was in shock, and I froze for a few seconds. And then it started sprinting towards me, and I think my body took over, and I floored it once more. And this time, I did not slow down. I didn't even stop for any red lights on the way home. I made it home way faster than ever. This morning, I walked outside, and I found large indents on the roof of my car. And right on the back of my car, right on the bumper of the trunk, was written in dust as someone traced or their fingers or something in the dirt. Wake up, and wake up. I've been checking the news to see if anyone's gone missing or if anything involving what happened last night has been reported, but nothing yet. Did I dream the whole thing? Was it all a panic? I don't know. How do I explain the indents on my car? What happened? All I know is, whatever you do, don't pull over at night. Good night.
Stop scrolling. Can someone please tell me what this means? Like, am I a witch or something? So, before I did my collab, the night before, I literally had a dream I was gonna do a collab. Not with the person I did a collab with, but like a different person. But still, you know? And then the next day, I did a collab. Without even knowing, guys. It's not like I went to sleep, knew I was gonna do the collab, and then it happened. No, like, I had no idea. It's like my dream told me. I don't know. And then the next night, I had a dream that this girl was pregnant. And then when I woke up, like a couple hours later, somebody tells me she's pregnant. I was like, there's no way. So tonight, I had a dream that, okay guys, my dream car is a Mercedes, okay? I don't have it yet, but I'm going to have it. Manifest, manifest, manifest. And I had a dream that I had a Mercedes and somebody stole it. Like, can that not come true, please? Like, I don't want that to come true. But like, does that happen to you guys, where you guys dream about something and then it happens? Like, I don't know, am I going crazy? Like, I believe in the Lord, I believe in God. But like, why is this happening? Am I like a medium? Like, I don't know. Help me.
What the fuck was that? Bro!
What's going on around you?
I don't know. I'm frozen. I am frozen. Did the window break?
My neighbor is a murderer, and now I can finally prove it. I moved into this house about 4 years ago. It's a small town in the middle of nowhere, Indiana. My apartment complex has 8 identical townhomes, and they look identical. If you've ever played The Sims, it's almost like he copy and pasted every single house. Now, I loved my apartment. I was borderline obsessed with it, and it wasn't an insanely nice place or anything, but it was perfect for me. Now, on the day I was moving in, some of the neighbors came out and started greeting me. Just like a nice neighborly welcome. My mom had come with me to help me unpack, and she asked one of the girls, "Do you like living here?" Which I feel like a little late to ask that, mom, but okay. The girl responded and said everyone was pretty normal, it was nice, and it was quiet, except this one neighbor, who of course happened to be my next door neighbor. He rarely came out of his apartment ever, he said, and he always kept his blinds down. But at first I found that I liked my neighbor. He was quiet, he kept to himself, and he didn't cause any problems. But the neighbor across the street was a whole nother story. Like I said, all of these houses were like Sims houses, copy and pasted. My My front window where I could see out and wash my dishes from my sink faced someone else's front window where they would wash dishes from their sink. Now, I had met the guy across the street on the first day when I moved in. He seemed nice enough, even borderline charming. Now, I'm not saying I creeped on my neighbor, but I kind of creeped on my neighbor. So I started to recognize his routine based on when his light was on in his kitchen window, which I guess sounds creepy when I say it out loud. Anyways, his light was always off during the day and then on during odd hours at night, like 1 a.m., 4 a.m., 3 a.m. And I'm a night owl myself, so I always noticed when it popped on. But I always joked that this guy could have been a vampire or something because only his kitchen light was ever on. Every other light was always off. It started to become an ongoing joke of me and my friends guessing what he did for a living because he was never out. I never saw anyone come and go from his house. And I mean, like, ever. One of my friends was like, he's clearly a serial killer. And I'm like, haha, very funny. But then things started to take a really weird turn. After living there for about 8 months, I finally saw him. Well, the other night it was really nice out, so I decided to sit outside on my porch, which is honestly not something I do often. I did have my dog outside sitting with me, so I felt a little bit safer, but it was a quiet night. It was a full moon, and then my dog started growling, but I wasn't sure what he was growling at. And then I hear a voice say, "I didn't know you had a dog." To which I look over and it's the cross the street neighbor. I was just in shock. I couldn't say anything immediately. So then he says, "So what are you doing out?" Pause. Was this man watching me as much as I was watching him? Could he really be a vampire or a serial killer? I'm honestly not sure which would be worse. Then he just left and went back to his house. Twice I've seen this man in what, 9 months? So then my friend suggested that I Google him. And everything's online these days. When I tell you me and my friends can find anyone on social media, I mean anyone. We could not find this man. So the group chat started speculating, could this man actually be a serial killer? Is he on the run? And boy, did we find our answers.